What's going on, you guys? We were just sitting in the awkward chair pose that we are going to show you. Just so happens the awkward chair poses actually points of performance are very similar to the squat. And yeah, the squat that you do every day to a chair, a toilet, with weight on your back. Similar movement pattern. So we're going to talk about how to do it better.
Woo! Mindful movement. So we have Susie, again, back with us. Thanks, Susie.
Thank you, Susie.
Susie is going to come into what we refer to in yoga as the awkward chair pose. So an awkward chair pose, the feet are about hip bone distance apart. And you want all 10 toes to come right in front of your heels. And then she's going to go ahead and have a seat as if she's sitting into a chair. And weight is going to be mostly in her heels. We are encouraging this beautiful, natural, neutral spine, right? We're maintaining the natural curves of the spine. Notice that she's not tucking the glutes under, but enjoying this beautiful, nice little, what do we call this, lordosis? Yes. And core is engaged, and then we have the hands overhead. Now, you'll notice that here in the knees need to be dragging right over the second toe, right? So there's this energetic, as if she's leaning against something on the inside of her knees, leaning against something on the outside of her knees, or we would call that torque, right?
Yep. So she's creating torque in her hips, but that's coming, so that movement in her knee is actually coming from her thigh. So that kind of leads us into the squat, which I'll show. Basically, very similar, but my feet are going to be actually shoulder width apart. Okay, so feet are shoulder width apart. And I'm also awkward, so this is the awkward squat, otherwise known as the right kind of squat, the right squat. So similar to the chair pose, I'm squeezing my butt to protect my low back. Okay, my ribs are drawn down, so I'm not extending through my back from the start. And I initiate the movement with my hips, the bigger joint in my body versus my knees. But with a squat, what I'm going to do is my knees are going to go outside my little toes. And I'm driving my knees out via my hips. I'm creating torque in my hips to protect my low back. So as I go down, my spine doesn't change position. It stays in a neutral position. My ribs are down. And if I wanted to bring my arms overhead, I will bring them overhead to as far as I can before my spine starts to change. So this is where my end range is in this position. If I were to bring my hands further, notice my spine is now extended. Okay, and that actually puts more pressure on my anterior knee, anterior hip, and it turns off my glutes. So a little bit different than the chair, but similar, same points of performance. So Sylvie's going to talk about the faults that she sees.
That was an impressive hold.
Oh, thank you.
Sounds like
it was awkward. It was really awkward.
Okay, so I'm going to go over the faults, the common faults. Thank you for that squat. Great tutorial there on the squat. We're going to come into the faults of awkward chair pose. So the common faults we see are we come out of the neutral spine. So go ahead and find that awkward chair one more time for us, Susie. And oftentimes you hear this cue, scoop the tailbone under. So I'm gonna have Susie scoop. So the moment we scoop the tailbone under, we take the spine out of neutral spine. So now she's no longer in spine. So we're almost actually moving the pelvis forward, which we don't want to do.
And you're also moving your knees forward, which puts more shear on the knee, right? Which isn't awesome.
So we'll take take a break, and then come back to awkward chair pose just for a moment. The other common fault we see is no torque in the knees. So I mentioned this briefly, but the knees will either start to buckle in or come out too far. Right?
That's super awkward.
That's super awkward. Yeah, super awkward. So the weight is mostly in the heels. Going forward, weight is in the heels, and the knees are driving over that second toe mount. And then of course the arms overhead extended just to that point where you find that end range, as Dr. Larson mentioned. If she were to go too far overhead, again, she moves her chest forward and she takes herself out of neutral spine.
Great, so with an athlete, so a yoga athlete that comes in to see me, so Susie, I need to use you again. So if I were to kind of reiterate what you just said, the similar fixes happen with the squat too. So go ahead and get into the awkward chair pose. Oftentimes people come in, this position can be, if done incorrectly, can be hard on the low back, right? It can be hard on the shoulder, it can especially be hard on the knees. So that torque, that kind of drive out, energetic drive out, you're gonna see that more with the squat, obviously, versus the chair pose, is coming from the pelvis. It's super important. That's gonna protect the low back. A gentle squeeze in the butt can also protect the low back, and then drawing those ribs down slightly can help you also set up the upper body. So very similar fixes. Thank you, Susie.
I just want to add one thing. That she said gentle squeeze of the glute. So we tend to like over exaggerate movement sometimes, and we say like engage the glutes, and we like clench the glutes. So it's not a clenching of the glutes, it's just an engagement.
Don't clench too hard.
Okay. Too hard. No, nobody wants.
Certain times it's okay, but not now. Not with the awkward chair pose. Stay tuned for the next one, you guys.